Hi there, I'm Colin Klupik. We're talking with Joel Wesley, who heads up the team at Class Creator. He's going to share some tips on how to get the best out of Class Creator as we move into the new academic year and also talk about some updates. Joel, it's a pleasure to host you. Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, Colin.
Look, the first thing I wanted to talk about was the rebrand from Class Builder to Class Creator. Can you tell us what's going on there?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's been two separate products that basically did the exact same thing over the last few years, Class Builder and Class Creator. It made perfect sense to stop confusing everyone and to use just the one name. So hence the rebrand to Class Creator.
Oh, okay, well, that's a pretty straightforward answer. The next thing I actually wanted to ask you about is part of that rebrand, and that is that there's now dedicated support for the first time for Class Creator. Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, definitely. So there is a few things that come with this rebrand that are really good for our schools. The first of those, as you just said, is dedicated support. So it's been a really big year for us here at Class Creator. We've just hired our first US CSM, so support agent over there. And the reason why that's big for you guys is that it now means we have 24/7 support. So on top of having a dedicated support team only focused on Class Creator, it's now 24/7. So no matter what time you guys need a hand, we are there. And to access that, there's a need a hand button in the bottom left hand corner of your screen. The other thing that comes with this rebrand is access to a whole bunch of new features and development that our team is constantly pushing out.
Now, there have been a lot of performance improvements in the back end happening over time. Can you tell us about that?
Definitely, we've spent a lot of time trying to really cut down on how long it takes people to do things in the system. One of those, for example, is a check all button. It might seem really small, but for the people that have to go and click through in multiple points throughout the system, it's just cutting out a massive headache for schools. On top of that, though, we've had some bigger features as well. So, a couple that I'd like to highlight. One is the groups feature. So schools can go and create camp groups and sleeping arrangements, for example, which will take into account those friendship preferences, separations, and pairings, and give you those perfect, cabin groups or tent groups, whatever it might be. And then also multiple tag support as well. So this is a really big one for schools where they can now separate their students based on their needs even further. So whether that's special needs, whether that's their language choices or electives, house colors, whatever it might be, we can go and create these groups using that data that's already in there.
Now, there is one feature coming, though, which you think is going to be a game changer for schools, a very significant update. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Absolutely. I'm super excited about this one. It's going to be a really cool feature. And what that is placement helper. So, right now, Class Creator does 95% of the work for schools. I'm sure all of you would agree that it does a great job of collecting that survey data. It then spits out these class lists. But the problem that schools have is that they're still required, for whatever reason, to go and make some manual changes. And those manual changes could be because a teacher had that student last year and they want to give them the opportunity to be taught by someone else. It could be that they're not placed with, enough of their friends or whatever it might be. So what Class Creator now does with Placement Helper is basically automate that last 5% of the process. So give you a like for like replacement or potentially even groups. But instead of me just talking about it, why don't we have a look at some fresh screenshots? Now, guys, this might change a little bit in the live version, but this is where we are right now. So, Colin, could you bring up that first one,
Yeah, sure.
please?
Let's bring up those pictures now.
Great. So, guys, you'll notice a big new shiny green button in the top right hand corner of the screen that says Start Placement Helper. So, I'm going to talk you through how this system actually works. So, by clicking on that button and then selecting the student that you would like to move, and it's going to highlight that student's friendship preferences across the year level. So, you can see for our student, those purple indicated students, that's their friends, and it gives us an idea of where we want to place this kid. You can still go and place them into a class that doesn't have any friendship preferences. The system will allow for that. And we'll see on our next screenshot here that we have two options to make this placement helper move. The first one is exchange, which is a like for like replacement for the student you're attempting to move. So what that means is the system is actually going and looking at the gender, academics, behavior, special needs, separations and pairings, friendship preferences, all those different data points, and giving you the best like for like replacement to swap that student with so that classes remain balanced. The second one is group move. So we understand that by moving students around, we might potentially break friendship circles, and group move will allow you to move groups of students at the same time. So by clicking on either the exchange with match button or the move groups button there, the system will actually move those kids and replace them in their classes for you.
Now, the significant part about this feature is that previously making these little moves used to throw out the algorithm and kind of mess things up a little bit, but this really refines that process. Is that right?
Absolutely. So all teachers will know that the difference between a good class and a bad class can really make or break your year. This new feature is going to allow you to make whatever manual changes that your school needs to, and make sure that those classes remain balanced and be done in a split second.
Okay, so it's a quick process. All right. So that's part of those back end improvements as well. So, Joel, that sounds like a fantastic feature. When can we expect it?
So we're at the real final stages of it now, Colin. It should be ready in the next week or two, but definitely before the end of October, so that schools have enough time to use it for student placement this year.
And I'm sure we can expect an announcement.
Absolutely. So as soon as we have a date ready for the launch, we'll announce it to all of our schools, so that they can start preparing to use it and really finalize those perfectly balanced classes.
Well, that sounds great. And we look forward to talking to you about that again sometime in the future. Joel, it's been great to talk to you today about some of these updates and improvements. Thanks so much for your time.
It's been great to talk to you. Thanks for having me.